Buenos dias, bonjour. Welcome to this webinar. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar focusing on making the most of your buyers meeting in Mexico. My name is Geneviève Dionne. I'm a trade commissioner responsible for the agriculture and agri-food sector in the Canadian Embassy in Mexico. And I'm joined today by my colleague Nora Gonzalez, who will be the main presenter today. So before we start, let's consider a few housekeeping items. This presentation is in English, but we have French interpretation available. Pour le service d'interprétation en français, veuillez choisir votre langue en cliquant sur l'icône en forme de cercle située en bas de votre écran avec les trois petits points, normalement vers la droite. Sur un iPad, ça se trouve en haut à droite. Please use the circle icon at the bottom of your screen towards the right to switch interpretation language. We also invite you to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. This presentation is recorded, and the recording will be shared with you at the end of the webinar series. And with this, without further ado, let's start. Nora, over to you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed the meeting. And I believe you are here because you have an interest in Mexico. But why Mexico? Maybe you are thinking about the great food we have, tequila, some Maya culture. Of course, I know, you know, beaches. How good will feel to be in the beach now? I'm in my winter time and it's 25 Celsius outside. Music or even Mexico City. But you know why? Mexico is much more. Mexico has 126 million population according to the last census in 2020. It has a young population with a median age of 27 years. 50% of the population lives in one of the 55 large metropolitan areas. Even 37% lives in 10 cities: Mexico City, Monterrey, Guadalajara, Puebla, Toluca, Tijuana, León, to mention some. If you can see the map that it's in the screen, where you can see the darker green is where more population are. So yes, it's high concentrated in the central part of the country, but we do also have important urban cities, both in the north, in the Pacific, in Central West. So that's why Mexico is much more. Mexico City, Mexico is divided in Mexico City and plus 31 states, which are by itself divided in 2,458 municipalities and 16 town halls. So imagine how complex can be to reach all of the Mexico City, all of the Mexico country. Which challenges do we have? We have issues of security and corruption. You may have heard in the news about this. 40% of the population is below the national poverty line. So it means that we have a very divided economic, social classes in Mexico. Still, educational reforms are an ongoing concern. These reforms started in the past government, but still have not really focused on a deep reform. So how is the Mexico's economy, you may be asking? Well, Mexico is one of the largest global economies, is the 15th worldwide. And this is one of the reasons for this is that we have favorable demographics. As you remember, I said that we are a young population with a growing consumer class and with well-educated skilled labor force. We have a strategical geographical position. We are not only neighbors from the United States and part of the CUSMA market, we are also the door to other Latin American countries. In fact, we are the first exporter in Latin America, with accounting with more than 40% of the total exports. We are an open economy. I don't know, but over 25 years ago, we got the idea to say, okay, why don't we open to the world? We didn't stay only with CUSMA. We have 14 free trade agreements that give us a preferred access with 50 markets. This is not including the Pacific Alliance or the CPTPP. Mexico has generally enjoyed a stable economic growth since 1990s, despite the weakening in 2019 that we have a change of government and the COVID-linked recession in 2020 that our GDP was reduced by 8.2%, and we just have a moderate growth in 2021, nearly to 6%. However, if you check the historic growth, we have an annual rate of 2.1 in the last 10 years. It's small, but it has been somehow consistent. Again, the size and the strength of our internal market is something to consider. So let's say that you are ready to enter into the Mexican market. Well, Mexico is home of multitudinous international business of all sizes, and many foreign investors are planning to establish their companies in their country. The region boasts a diverse range of attractive sectors. It all depends in which area of Mexico are you focusing, and the country's liberal trade and commercial policies still encourage foreign investment. But I strongly suggest that before entering the Mexican market, the companies have to make up their mind about which type of the businesses they want to partner based on your specific commercial needs and requirements. So select an appropriate agent or distributor will require time and effort, because yes, we can introduce you with many qualified candidates, but you should set the standards to select the best suited agent or distributor according to their DNA. Let's say that I present you with a company that is a small business, but they don't have credit capabilities, and you say, well, we cannot offer credit, so then it wouldn't match your offer. Obviously, well, in Mexico, the credit is not that open, but you can do other options. So these initial challenges become when Mexico's size and diversity are often underappreciated. It can be difficult to cover this vast market with only one single distributor of agent. I have seen that there are distributors that focus only in Mexico City or the central region. But let's say that your product also targets the Mayan Riviera in the south, where Cancun is, and the distributor that is in Mexico City won't be able to cover it. Or even, for example, I live in Guadalajara, which is Central West, by Puerto Vallarta, 300 kilometers inland, and then you will require another distributor. So as with any new commercial endeavor, Canadian firms should consult with legal counsel before entering into any business agreements. The banking system in Mexico has shown signs of growth after years of stagnation, but interest rates remain competitively high. Small and medium-sized enterprises find difficult to obtain financing and affordable rates, despite the Mexican government efforts to increase access to capital for SMEs. So you might, sometimes it's more important that you can offer a solution to the Mexican, for example, that you have a credit line approved by EDC that you can use for your endeavors in the Mexican market, than the Mexican company to access of a competitive credit line. Mexican customs regulations, product standards, and labor law may present challenges for Canadian companies. The Canadian Embassy and consulates in Mexico are available to guide firms on regulations that affect their export product or business sector, from commercial, agricultural, and naval matters to international property rights and standards. So let's say I already understand how it's Mexico. I understand that it's bigger than I expect. Well, I'm getting ready for the meeting. Well, first of all, I suggest that you need to identify your target. I said it's really valuable to have a previous discussion with a local, because things that you may think will work similar to Canada might not. You can do some preliminary market research. If you say, I'm offering cookies, okay, have you noticed which are the most sold or most favorite flavor of cookies in Mexico? Start thinking about the characteristics of a counterpart. Will you need a distributor that has storage, or is not important? Do you need a distributor that has one location, or that can cover several locations in Mexico? So start thinking of what will be your ideal partner. And fourth, prepare and review the potential local companies. Someone can provide you a list, so be sure that you go and check their website and see which markets they serve, which product lines they offer, so you can be more prepared. Second, be flexible. You know, for the meeting schedule, a Mexican may say, okay, I confirmed you the meeting. I'm going to have the meeting on February 4 at 10 a.m. And you know, it can be February 4 at 10 a.m. The Mexican is not there. Okay, you ask them, where are you? Oh, it was today. Can we move it for tomorrow? So that's how we say we can have a meeting today or a meeting tomorrow. Consider that a meeting may last from 30 minutes to an hour. Usually for first accounting meetings, they will give you a 30-minute frame. If they are more interested, you can go longer to an hour. A Mexican may request to reschedule a meeting. So let's say that on the 1st of February, he says, look, I'm having another event on the 4th of February. Would it be possible to move it to the 9th? That it's polite and it should be acceptable, but it's quite rude for a seller to reschedule it. Once we confirm the meeting for a Mexican, we expect the seller to be there. 3, prepare your presentation. Do your homework. You know, sometimes you say it's a short meeting, I don't need a presentation. No, we need you to be prepared. The presentation, if possible, should be in Spanish. It's sometimes nice that you have the presentation in Spanish, the company in Mexico requests you to send it, and they forward this material to other fellows in the association. Not all of them may speak English, so it will be great if you can have it in Spanish. Be short. You know, it's not nice if you have a 30-minute meeting that you just listen and listen for 20 minutes, 25 minutes to the other counterpart. So please keep it short, 10-minute maximum presentation. Be sure to include product information. Which are your competitive advantages? What is unique for your product? And which markets do you serve? It's very important. If you have presence in Mexico, detail it. Mexicans will feel much more confident that you already are acquainted with the market if you explain it. Please put a little bit of history, who you are, how long have you been in business, and a little more about success stories. It's really nice and gives a lot of credibility to hear that you are already selling in the US or in other markets, or that you have developed a new product. So please feel free to enhance your presentation with this. And also have the specification sheet of each of your products. Why? It might be that buyer says or asks you, does this product have come in how many presentations or pallets, or do you have the SKUs, how many SKUs do you have? Be sure that you have it, because you never know when they are asking it. 4, learn about the potential customer. So you review the targets, you are preparing your presentation, you already know with whom you are meeting. First, review the website. If you say, well, I have the link, I check the website, it's in Spanish, I don't understand it, Google it. Google can translate it, and the most important is you have a better understanding of whom you are meeting with. Again, check their catalog of products so you can get a better sense which are their expertise. See if they list their clients or coverage. That way, you will be able to have more information. And prepare questions. So you might say, well, I checked their clients and it's not. So question 1, which markets do you serve? They don't have their catalog of products. Question 2, which products do you handle? So write every single question that you have. 5, logistics. This is what I call the ABC. Market access. Be sure to know in advance if your product pays duties, VAT, or if it has any label restrictions. Why? Because you might be thinking that the price will be one, but if you learn that you need to relabel, or that if you pay duties or if you pay VAT, the price will increase. It will be not so professional that you don't know that in advance to provide information to the buyer. B, the border or main points of entry. Get acquainted with them. It can be common that a Mexican will say, oh yes, please quote me Laredo. And you may say, quote me where? Well, Laredo is the main land border in Texas from the US to Mexico, and where a lot of trade comes. So be sure that you can have a Mexican map and get acquainted about the border and main points of entry. C, customs. Prepare to be able to have international shipment documents. You might be required to have a certificate of origin, which is a free document, but be sure that you know in advance which is the format. Or they might be requesting a certificate of free of sale or a certificate of quality, so be prepared. And then quote it. It's something that we always strengthen you to have, not to only say, well, my price works in my factory is this one. Work with a shipping agent that is acquainted with the Mexican market, so you can at least have a price point reference. Talking more in depth, 6, about the price. Not X work? a landed price in Mexico. You may think, okay, I cannot quote it. I don't know if I'm going to sell in Mexico City or in Cancun, or, well, just put an example or make an exercise about landed price in Mexico or at a border point of entry, quote FOB, and may think what would the retail price for consumer will be. So make the exercise. So you do not need to be an expert, but you need to be able to be compared to current products that are available and ready in the market. Let's say, coming back to the example of the cookies. Your cookies, I know they are the best. You have the best quality and the best ingredients, but you know why? Price is more than double. That already makes a challenge to overcome in the Mexican market. 7, have a contact. It's sometimes nice that you say, well, I'm the director and I want to be part of this virtual trade mission that the Canadian Embassy is having. But you know what? I'm not going the one who will be responsible to follow up the Mexican project. So please be clear and identify who in your company will be the person responsible to follow Mexican projects. If you have someone who speaks Spanish in the company, this will be an asset. I always say that part of the success of US companies in Mexico is that they have a lot of Latin workers in their companies. So it's really simple. They speak the language, they know the culture, so they can communicate basically with anyone in Mexico. Have email and WhatsApp ready and include it in presentation. Sometimes even you don't know, or we have a presentation and we don't know neither your name, your email, or your phone. So again, if we use your presentation and we send it to someone else in the team of the Mexican company, and there's still contact, there will be a loss in communication. Okay, you are ready, but you know what? Canada is not the same as Mexico. You may say, well, I check, I do my work, I have the price, I have everything I need for the presentation, but you need to consider the following. Business and cultural considerations are not the same. In Mexico, you may have noticed from whoever has already done business in Mexico, or if not, when you do introductions in the virtual B2B meetings, they will say, Lic Gómez, or Licenciado Ingeniero Gómez. And you will say, what does that mean? Well, in Mexico, historically, and for many reasons, hierarchy is really important and power. So people feel very proud that they finish a career or a master's degree. So that's why they put Engineer Gomez, which is the last name, or Accountant Perez. So the older the people, the more used they are to be treated as with these titles. So just be sure that you listen how the person introduces themselves or how other colleagues from the company address to the most important person, so you can follow that rules. And again, Mexico is much more traditionalist than in Canada. You might encounter some business that are still family-owned business, that they will have the father and then the sons, but still the father, it's like really the one that will take the decisions and follow the traditional business scheme. Mexicans in general are uncomfortable with uncertainty. So that's why I say, if you don't provide them more information, I don't know if this product is going to have any label restrictions, or I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I will get interested in your product. Also, we are very collectivist. You know, when we say Mexicanos, and we love soccer, which is a group sport. So don't be surprised that in one of your meetings, you will have 3, 4, or even 5 people from the same company just listening to you. Satisfaction is the guide, you know. Again, we follow the rule that we love family, we love outdoor, we love to be with friends, we love to have the lunch and dinner and fun activities. So be prepared to have some resistance to uncertainty. Family and friends are really important. So let's say it might not be in the first meeting, but if you have to follow with one of the companies, it's really common that they ask me, for example, I have 2 kids, and whenever I come to someone that I have speak at least once, and they know, or at least I make sure that I let them know that I have 2 kids, that they are young, and then when next time I talk to them, say, how are your kids, how they are in school. So it's really important to ask for family and friends. Spanish speaking, again, I need to stress out that it's an asset. Not everyone in the company speaks English, and personal relations are a matter of essence. You know, here we have a say that it doesn't matter whom do you know, it matters that you know someone that knows the other someone, or to have the telephone or the contact that you need to reach. So it's very common that that's what I say, if you have any history in Mexico of success, or you are already selling in Mexico, or you know someone in Mexico, that you stress that out, because it's such a small world that may give more confidence, and the Mexican may know about that person or that company. Well, we have emotive speech and gestures. You see how I'm talking in this presentation. It's much more. So don't feel that, oh, she was super excited when she met with me, so I really think that they got interested. Well, we have emotive speech, and we love proximity. This has been difficult with the virtual mode, but if you come to in-person meetings, don't be shy and don't feel offended if anyone that you don't know give you a kiss in the cheek, or they even want to hug you. That's how it works in Mexico. Also, you need to consider that the ecosystem in Mexico is quite complex, because you have multinational companies and small companies in the same. If you see the pictures, I always love to put these, you know, that mom and pop shop in the corner, which is a really small shop where you can buy something. But you also have OXXO, which also is the largest convenience chain store in Mexico. On just a quick data, they have more locations than Starbucks in the US. So who can be your customer? Both. You know, your product, maybe you want that it will be sold in OXXO, of course, but maybe you want them to be sold in 50,000 of these small mom and pop shops. Flexibility, again, is a matter of essence, not only for scheduled meetings, but mainly for everything. We are very flexible. And patience is key when conducting business in Mexico. You know, I know that Mexico might be a slower market in comparison to other countries. I have said that many Canadian companies come and they said, well, Nora, we have a great first meeting and we are ready, send all the information regarding price, we sell all specifications, and they didn't reply back. Well, might be not in their top priorities. So that's why I say, be patient. But really, really important, follow up in Mexico. I always ask this Canadian fellow, well, you tell me, you sent information, you sent the prices, and you didn't hear that. When did you send that email? 3 weeks ago. And what have you done after 3 weeks? No, I'm waiting for the Mexican to contact me. Okay, that's really not follow-up in Mexico. I'm putting an example for you. If I want to confirm a business meeting for any foreigner, let's say I'm assisting a Canadian company and wants to meet a distributor. I call him. I find someone that I know. I said, hi, how are you? This is Nora. Yeah, you remember me? Yes, we met in that show. Yes. How is your family? How is the weather? I'm going to send you information regarding a Canadian company offering cookies. Can you please confirm me your email? Yes. Okay, I will send it. I prepared the email. I send the email. If I don't get an answer, either I WhatsApp him or I call him again to verify he receives my email. Hi, did you receive my email? You know, most of the time they say, let me check, which for me says they have not even had the time to check if they received the email. When they check, at least I know that they received it. Okay, they read the information. I don't have an answer. Okay, let's go back to them and ask them, hi, Juan, how are you? Do you remember that I sent you an email regarding Canadian company offering some cookies? Yes. Okay. Do you have any doubts or questions regarding the company? They might not have even read the email. Okay. Thank you. Let's go back. And I will call you. When do you want me to call you back to see if you are interested? Call me back tomorrow. I call back tomorrow, and then he will say me yes or no, if they are interested. Might be that since the beginning, he is not looking for cookies. But you know what? Mexico has a cultural tradition and difficulty to say no. It doesn't matter if you're requesting a meeting. It doesn't matter if you're offering a product. It doesn't matter if you invite someone for lunch or day. It's very difficult that you ask a Mexican, so what do you think of your product? You like it? No, no one will say that. They will say, oh yeah, I think it's really interesting. So one of the most shocking cultural barriers that we have is that we have foreigners that come out from Mexican business meetings and they say, oh, it was great meeting. They show a lot of interest. And then I say, yes, because why? What they Mexicans say? Oh, I say, do you like my product? And they say, yes. Okay, I say, yes, because they won't say no. You know, so you always need to read between it. If they ask you questions, or if they just only say yes. By the way, do you remember that when I was explaining my scenario and I'm requesting a meeting for this Canadian cookie company, that I said, I even will call him or I will send him a WhatsApp. Do you have WhatsApp? If you don't have WhatsApp because you don't use it, before you start having your business meetings in Mexico, please install it. Mexico is the main market for WhatsApp in the world. I have been talking for nearly half an hour and I have here my WhatsApp. Let's check. Let's make an exercise on a live exercise. I have 49 messages in WhatsApp that I need to check after I finish. It's incredible the amount of businesses and communications that are done in WhatsApp in Mexico. It doesn't matter if you are talking with the CEO of a large corporation, or if you are talking with the purchasing manager of the category of Walmart, or if you are talking to the distributor. Everyone uses WhatsApp in Mexico for everything. You know, they can send you pictures of there, they can send you request price list there, they can pay you, they can send you everything. So be sure that you have your WhatsApp. So what about business etiquette? Please, again, respect the titles. If someone says, Don Jose is joining us for the meeting, be sure that when you refer to Jose, add Don Jose. Learn basic Spanish terms. It's really nice and appreciated when we heard that a Canadian effort says, buenos días, buenas tardes, because you know that they are interested in Mexico. And appearance matter. It doesn't matter that we are in a virtual mode. Please don't use t-shirt. You know, I don't need to wear a tie, but business casual will suffice. Be polite. Again, remember what I told about the power and the hierarchy. And also we do appreciate a lot the genuine effort to learn about the Mexican culture. So let's say that you know something about Mexico. It can be from sports, culture, politics. Just be careful, it's a tough way. Or if you know anything about a place, or that you have come to Mexico on vacations and you are something, it's really nice that you find a local in, which means you can talk to something that is not only about business, and that it demonstrates that you have an interest in the Mexican market. And again, mind the clock. It's really rude that you arrive late to a meeting, but also that you extend. So let's say that a Mexican since the beginning says that they will give you a half an hour. Don't try to push and explain and continue and extend the meeting. Please mind the clock. Don't refuse anything offered. Well, now with the virtual mode, it's difficult. But even let's say that you are in your virtual meeting and then a Mexican says, oh, I invite you to come to Mexico. I will make a tour to the plant or a tour to my facilities. Don't say no. Just say, oh, yes, I will be more than excited when all this COVID pandemic passes. So remember, Mexicans don't say no. Please don't say no. Don't be too forward. You know, sometimes Mexicans feel that they are being pushed, or that they are not taking consideration when you are just talking about business. And for example, you say, well, okay, in the meeting, what do you think about the product? And do you think that it will be successful in the market? And what do you think if we need to change this? And only talking about business. Remember my example. Hi, Jesus, how are you? This is Nora. I met you in Antag. How are the kids? How is the school? How is the weather? 5 minutes after, I tell him, I'm talking to you because I need a meeting with a Canadian cookie producer. So assume Mexicans have read your emails. That's also a very common mistake. Yes, I send it to him by email. I tell him that my price will increase 30%, 30 cents if I need to put a new label. And he's now asking me that how much will cost. Mexicans do not read. They even not read at all or read half of the email. So everything that you consider that it's important for your business, be sure that you also discuss it in person with the Mexican. When you come to Mexico, either to a trade show or an in-person business, and you come without business cards, or now that you are presenting and having this virtual B2B meeting, you forget to add your email with your contact information. And also, I may say, you forgot to ask him, their contact information. So you may have the meeting and then you meet, for example, with Juan, and you might have in your meeting notes, previous meeting notes, that you are meeting Jackie. So you have contact information of Jackie, and at the end, all of a sudden, and for a Mexican internal reason, Jose appears to your meeting, and you don't have Jose's neither full name or position or contact information. So don't forget your contact information and be sure that you ask them. Think Mexico is Latin America. You know how many times I have seen that a foreigner talk to me and I say, have you come to Mexico? No, but I went to Peru and I love Peruvian food. Ceviche is great. You know what? I don't care. I'm not Peru. Or they say, oh no, yeah, I have seen that Colombian retailers, they are doing great. Good to know. I'm not Colombian. So it's good that you make a referral, that you serve other Latin American markets, but don't compare Mexico as Latin America. And finally, and most important, try to close a deal by phone. That won't work. I know that now with COVID, everything has changed and moved to the virtual format, but before, and it's impossible that the Mexican way to conduct business will change in just a 2-year period, nothing was closed by phone. Everything was in person. So I do expect that you may close a business virtually, but it will take a long time to develop the personal relation. So let's say, okay, I did my homework. I'm super well prepared for the presentation. I have my presentation. I already understand the logistics. I learned everything you have already said about the Mexicans. I'm ready to tell licenciado and engineer. So yes, you arrive to your meeting. So while you are in the meeting, it's very important first that you introduce yourself. Say your name and position. Remember that Mexicans do not read. So I might not even know with whom I'm meeting. So don't expect that I know everything about you or your company. I may have just in the top of my mind that I'm meeting with a Canadian cookie manufacturer. So it's really nice that you say, how are you? I'm Nora. I'm the director of G&G. Thank you for your time. You may say, why I should say thank you? Remember hierarchy and how we don't talk about business? Mention the plan. It's really important for the Mexican that you say, well, if you agree, I'm going to present my product. I'm going to present the cookie. Then we can have a discussion about which markets do you serve, which are your interests, and if there's anything we can help you. Then start presenting. Do you remember? Maximum 10 minutes for your presentation. When you finish, ask for feedback and answer questions. But you know, Nora, the Mexican doesn't ask questions. Okay, ask him. What do you think about the cookies? Do you think that these flavors or these presentations can succeed in the Mexican market? And if they have questions, answer them. Then ask your questions. Do you remember that when you were doing your homework, I request that if you were in the website and you didn't know which markets they serve, which are their catalog of products, that you write the questions, it's time for you to do it. Don't feel afraid to ask anything. Mexicans are really open when sharing information. So, and if they do not want to answer, be sure they won't answer. They don't say no, but they will give you side words to answer you. Try to narrow, which means, okay, you ask the questions, you have a great discussion, then try to narrow, which means, Okay, so I noticed that you're interested more in these two types of cookies, or I know that we are interested in targeting the retail, and describe the next steps as specific as possible, which means, okay, you are mentioned that you are interested in these two flavors. What we will do, you will send the presentation, you will send the specification sheet. Are you going to schedule a second meeting? Are you going to send samples? Because if not, otherwise a Mexican may not be the one who do your homework. In the presentation, be ready to have, remember, your presentation, the pricing, logistics, and the specification sheet. All of them. You may have a Mexican that does not request anything, but you may have a Mexican that requires one of these documents while you are presenting. What would be the most common question that a Mexican has when you are having the meeting with you? Do you sell in Mexico? Don't be surprised if this is one of the first questions that you receive. This is why, remember that I explained you that Mexicans feel bad with uncertainty and that we are very traditionalist. Well, it's important to know if you already know the Mexican market. Okay, they might ask, if you are talking to a retailer, do you have a rep or distributor in Mexico? Because some of the retailers want import directly, and for them will be very valuable to have a rep and distributor here. What is the minimum order? And then you won't be sure that you know, because I have had companies that say, well, I don't know, it should be a pallet, 2 pallets, can it be mixed? And don't be surprised. Sometimes a distributor or rep or a retailer don't want to start with big orders because they want to minimize risks and they want to do a pilot project. So, okay, you have a minimum order of a pallet. Okay, can you sell that pallet in Laredo or any other border? Because you may say, well, no, because only to sell a pallet and to put it in Laredo border, in the US border to Mexico, that will increase the price that much. Well, please be sure that you know that, because a Mexican might ask, can you sell me a pallet in Laredo? And then again, follow up, and follow up. Mexicans need you to follow up. The Mexican is not going to follow up with you. You know, 99% of the times that doesn't happen. And not only by email. Again, it will be very nice that yes, you finish the meeting. Remember that you narrow and you make next steps. You can send them what happened in the meeting, a recap of the main points of the meeting. That way the Mexican won't forget. If the Mexican asks you to send some information, send all the information requests. Not send something yes and something not. The Mexican requires one in one. Can call to verify all information. It's clear. Remember that I called Juan to see if he received my email for this Canadian cookie appointment. Okay. Also, it's really important that you provide ideas on how to sell your product. You know, sometimes you expect that the Mexican do all the work for you. No, if you have success stories in other markets and of what you have learned from Mexico and from your potential counterpart, you have an idea, tell them. And again, do more homework. As a seller, you need to provide the solution, not more work. Imagine that you are discussing with the buyer of Walmart, category cookies. Do you think that he's just sitting at his desk waiting for a cookie manufacturer to arrive because he was desperately looking for cookies? Most of the time it doesn't happen. And then you tell him that he needs to be creative and start thinking how he will promote these cookies or how he will do logistics apart from the 10,000 emails that he needs to do or the task that he already does. No, be sure that you do your job, not the buyer. Okay, you decided that you are going to send the samples. Well, yes, it's really common that you send samples for distributors, reps, or importers. In the case of the retailers, they will tell you. Some of them will say, no, I won't require samples, that we only need the specifications sheet. Now, with the virtual mode, you need to find an importer to clear the samples because it's not that you're shipping, you know, as food products has restriction while importing into Mexico. And that exactly thing happens with samples. I have seen many cases that foreigners tell me, Nora, I send samples and they get stuck in the customs. I'm not surprised. every single product that is not properly labeled in Spanish or that is not under an importer's name, you won't be able to clear the samples. And to add on the top of that, now with home office, that still with these new COVID waves, we have many buyers that have returned to home office. They do not provide their personal addresses. So it's a challenge to know where to send the samples. So you send the samples, the Mexican was really interested, and you start negotiating with them. So how should be a negotiation with a Mexican? Well, thinking that, and remembering that I talked about patience, negotiating are medium long term, and there are several sellers looking to sell to the top distributors or retailers. It's not only you. Remember that we are open economy, so we might have a US company offering cookies, a Colombian cookies offering cookies, a Brazilian company offering cookies, and you. Price and quality, this radio, it's a matter of essence. Unfortunately, our income is not as large or as big in all Mexico as other countries. So you may tell me, Nora, but my cookies, you know, state of the art, best quality ingredients, but do you remember? It costs double. I'm not sure if all Mexicans can afford to have the best of the best at double price. So to find the correct quality price radio, it's a matter of essence. Discuss the payment terms and credit should be negotiated since the beginning. You know, it's difficult to renegotiate after. The same with discounts, marketing support and promotion. Let's see who is paying what. And please remember, Mexicans are mostly used to deal with US suppliers. So don't feel weird if they say, oh, but my American does this or my American supplier does this. Yeah, well, we're used to that. And be sure that you also dot the volumes and delivery times. You might say, oh yes, I will be able to supply a pallet in 2 months. And maybe the Mexican that is used to deal with a US supplier, he's requesting for a pallet. You know, this US manufacturer is located in California. And you know when I'm going to have my pallets? Maybe not tomorrow, maybe on Monday. So be sure that you specify that. So please consider, origin is not considered important. If you ask me from the cookies that I buy, where do they come from? I don't know. So don't think that just because it's a great product from Canada will sell by itself. We also do have a lot of loyalty to Mexican brands. Let's talk about cookies. We have Marinela that is from Grupo Bimbo, one of the largest baking companies in the world. I grew with Bimbo. I still like Bimbo. So it will be difficult that I forgot from my mind what I have always had. Competition, it's high for market niche products. So if you have a very gourmet product that is for a market niche, be sure that you will have competition. Again, it's a high level of segmentation. Remember that I mentioned that we have a high division on social income classes. Well, you need to see really which is the pie of the market that will fit for your product. Payment terms. It can be from 15, 30, 60, and up to 90 days after delivery. So be sure that you have the credit capacity for this. And then the profit margins. It's a common question that I receive. Which is the profit margin? Okay, well, it's varied from product category. And what I have learned is that the more specialized the product, the higher the margin, as it can be from 10% to 50%. And retailers in general, they have a 25 to 35% on the sale price. So exclusivity is not a common practice. Do you remember that I explained that Mexico is bigger than it looks at a glance? Well, that's why it's not exclusivity a common practice. Then marketing and promotion. If you have different sales channels, you need to identify what will be the best strategies for marketing and promotion. And you also need to consider you might have flexibility to quote, which means you need to be flexible to quote in Walmart cities in Mexico City, or you need to have flexibility to quote at Laredo Border, or they might require to have you a quotation in Tijuana. So be flexible. And in some sectors, direct sales to final customers can be extremely limited. We might say, Nora, I want to sell directly to all the hotels in the Mayan Riviera. you know what? It will be very difficult than a hotel acts as an importer because of all the import procedures and regulations in customs. So you may need a distributor to sell to the hotels. Imported products, again, are for a market niche. So it's really important that you identify where your product can fit. You may say, well, Nora, my product has been super good in sales in Canada. In Canada, it's a market trend of organic products, and everywhere you go, it's organic products. And I may say, well, not for Mexico. So you really need to identify where your product can fit. There are several market entry strategies that you can follow while targeting the Mexican market. One is trade shows. In the case of food, there is ANTAD show, which is an annual show. Last year was in October in Presence. This year is scheduled for May. The Canadian Embassy has a pavilion every year, and that's a great opportunity to showcase your products. Also, to use the Trade Commissioner service, both for promotional events, directories, or trade mission, like Taste of Canada that you are having in the following days, but also with direct customers or importer distributor. It's really nice that you develop a market entry strategy together with your importer or distributor, as they already are acquainted with the market. So for me, that's it. I'm open to have any questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you very much, Nora. This was extremely informative and very dynamic. Thank you very much. Lots of information to digest and lots of good questions that have come in through the Q&A function. So I invite you to add your questions to the Q&A. But before we move to that part, I would just like to take a few minutes to present the Trade Commissioner Service Network in Mexico. As Nora mentioned before, Mexico is a vast country with important regional differences, and there are 3 Canadian missions to support you, each covering a different region. The embassy is located in Mexico City. The Consulate General of Canada in Monterrey covers the northern states of Nuevo León, Chihuahua, Coahuila, y Tamaulipas. The Consulate General of Guadalajara covers the western states of Jalisco, Colima, Nayarit, Sinaloa, Guanajuato, y Aguascalientes. And we're here to help you grow in the market. In practical terms, with our presence here, we offer you hands-on knowledge and practical advice. We can help you understand market demand, consumer preferences, and connect you with key contacts such as importers, distributors, and buyers. We can also offer advice on import regulations, such as certification requirements, labeling, and other SPS requirements. And if any of you participating today took part in the webinar yesterday on labeling, you saw that there's a lot to consider there, and our colleagues can provide you with help navigating this environment. We also identify business opportunities and share market insight. And we are here also to help you resolve business problems should there be any. These are our core services that are free of charge to you. And we invite you to contact us for anything. So as of who we are, in the life science sector, you have Stephanie Mercure in Mexico City, Adriana Arevalo in Monterrey, and Robert Landry in Guadalajara. In the agriculture and agri-food sector, focusing on market access and advocacy, there's Frances Lindsay and her team are there to answer those questions regarding the regulation and certifications. And we also have a team from CFIA that is here on the regulatory side of things. And on market development, my colleague Jimena Pacheco and myself are based in Mexico City. Mauricio Davila is in Monterrey, and in Guadalajara, we have Juan Carlos Munoz and Montserrat Arrieta that are here to help you. And so with this, let's go to the Q&A, Nora. So there are a few questions that came in. So first question was regarding video calls and video appointments, whether or not it's a popular tool with Mexican buyers in the current situation.
Well, it all depends. I wouldn't say yes or no. Like, for example, here in Guadalajara, more companies are now open on receiving you on in-person meetings, and they have limited somehow social interactions. They invite you to have the meeting. But for example, with buyers from retailers, they are using only virtual appointments. So it all depends on whom you are talking.
Thank you. Now, you touched upon promotional products and these type of consideration that need to be kept in mind. But is there a general rule per sold pallet to include X amount of products for promotional purposes?
No, the answer is no. It all depends on the market strategy that you develop with your importer and or with the retailer. But no, you need to know the who's going to pay for it and how much you can offer, but it's not a general rule.
Here's an interesting question, another interesting question. They're all very different, but this one has a bit of a twist in it. How is humor handled in the meetings?
Difficult to say. Mexicans have a very different humor from Canadians. So I may not suggest that you do humor things if you are not a Mexican. It might not get the same sense.
And there's also the expression lost in translation. Sometimes the type of humor won't come across the same way, but that's a very good point. You did focus on the importance of the personal relationship in your presentation. I agree that this is key. Another question, if we don't want to come across being too pushy, being Canadians as we are, how often and quickly should we follow up?
I believe that more than how often and quickly is how you handle the relation. You know, if I just have an email and then a second email talking about business, I would rather prefer, it doesn't matter if you send me the email, let's say 2 days ago, that you call me or send me a WhatsApp. Hi, how are you, Nora? How is the weather? We just have 20 inches of snow yesterday. We're freezing. Did you have a chance to read my mail? That's not pushy, you know? You are not just sending me an email, and I mean, you are developing a relation by the time you are following up. So it's more the way you conduct it. I have called a Mexican company once per day for 15 days, and I was not too pushy. It all matters how you handle it.
Sounds good. Good advice, as always. Next question is about the credit line that was mentioned in your presentation. Looking at potential interest from a distributor, is it expected that the Canadian provider would have that already in place when negotiating in Mexico?
More than a credit line, it's payment terms. It's usually the 15, 30, 60-day terms that they will require. So you should be open to say, yes, I will be able to offer those payment terms or not.
Okay. Again, switching topic, going to e-commerce. So is there more of an interest for retail or for e-commerce business? Will the meetings be more skewed towards retail business?
Well, about the meetings, you can comment on that.
Yes, that's true. Sorry. As I finished reading the question, this is something that will be addressed during the pre-meeting session. For the general public, what I will say is that in the last few years, there's been an incredible increase in e-commerce. Not only have we seen the brick and mortar store switch to increasing that platform and their electronic offer, there's also been a lot of companies that have crept up that are solely based on e-commerce, and they do everything from Amazon that was like delivered the next day, and now they have companies the same hour, even in 10 minutes. And so that's a whole different channel. And I will say, and I will mention here that sometime in the spring or early summer, we will have a presentation, a webinar that will focus solely on e-commerce. So stay tuned, visit the Trade Commissioner Service website to have that information, or contact us if you want to have more precision. There are a few more questions here and time is coming short. Okay, so 2 questions about language. Is a translator essential even if the contact speaks very good English? And is it a problem not to have a Spanish-speaking heritage? Those two can be combined together. And support material, availability of support material in Spanish.
Well, no, Mexicans can, they say that they speak English. If they say so, when you request the meeting that they speak English, is because they feel confident to negotiate and conduct business in English. So you don't need a translator. When you say must be in Spanish, like for example, if you are participating in like in this activity Taste of Canada, that you are meeting with a bunch of companies that they might have that 3 of them do not speak English or two of them do speak, it will be valuable to have the presentation in Spanish. If you say support material, that promotionals and that, yes, should be in Spanish.
Yes, and I will add as well that any labeling, all of the requirements, this has to be in Spanish as well. So as you explore the Mexican market and as you develop your interest and get ready to start exporting, this is really something that should be facilitated. And if need be, when you visit the market, we also can share a list of interpreters that can support you. So that's something that we can help with as well, not being interpreters ourselves, but referring you to the right resources. I think that now I would have one last comment about the not the reluctance to say no. I've read somewhere a todos, a ninguno diles no, pero a todos no diles cuando, algo así, which means basically say yes to everyone, but just don't tell them when.
That is extremely correct. That's what I always say, that, oh yeah, they were super excited, which questions they answer, and then try to narrow, okay, what did he like and what are the next steps? Just to try to push the when, exactly that, you know? And if they say, ahorita, that's something that doesn't mean anything. Ahorita, it's an undetermined time, so just be sure to say, I will call on Monday, next schedule, the next meeting in 2 weeks. Don't expect them to send you the meeting invitation. So remember, you want to sell, we don't want to buy.
Thank you very much, Nora. Thank you all for taking part in this webinar. I hope that you found it insightful and interesting for your purposes. This concludes the series of webinars that we held over this week. You will soon receive a link to the webinar that had been recorded. Thank you. Grabbed is in Spanish. And you will also receive the presentations that will be available both in French and in English. Thank you very much. And with this, I will wish you all a very good day.